Rosario is an agricultural and industrial powerhouse with major rail freight and shipping connections, lying 180 miles northwest of Argentina's capital, Buenos Aires, and is home to two major football clubs, Rosario Central and Newell's Old Boys. It's the hometown of Lionel Messi, Mauro Icardi, Angel Di Maria and Tata Martino, but even Messi has a challenger as Rosario's most significant footballing export. Because in Rosario, in July 1955, Marcelo Bielsa was born. He's since gone on to become one of the most influential and at times divisive figures in modern football management. Despite only winning a gold medal with Argentina at the 2004 Olympics and several championships in Argentina with Newell's and Vélez Sársfield, Bielsa is seen as one of the greatest football minds in history. He is a clear and acknowledged influence on coaches like Martino, Mauricio Pochettino, Diego Simeone, Jorge Sampaoli and Pep Guardiola. Indeed, as Jonathan Wilson wrote in 8x8 magazine, since the back four spread from Brazil in the late 1950s and early 60s, no South American has had such an influence on how the world played as Bielsa has had in the first decade of the 21st century. Bielsa was born into a middle-class family of lawyers and politicians. His brother Rafael was a minister in the government of Nestor Kirchner. His sister Maria Eugenia was a provincial vice-governor in Santa Fe. Bielsa, though, wanted to be a footballer and joined Newell's Old Boys. Naturally, his father supported Rosario's other club. Bielsa also religiously consumed El Gráfico, the hugely influential and almost academic Argentine football magazine. According to Jonathan Wilson, Bielsa even convinced his mother to index the magazine, which at that point came out weekly. His ability as a footballer didn't live up to the intensity of his interest, though, and while he played first-team football for Newell's, he left at 21 and played for Instituto and Argentina de Rosario in the lower leagues, before studying a range of subjects including physical education. He then moved to Buenos Aires to coach the university side aged just 25. He apparently scouted 3,000 players before selecting his squad of 20, treated the players as professionals, and began his relentless approach to coaching and preparation that has been the hallmark of his career. His first coaching job in professional football came back at Newell's in the youth system. According to Wilson, deciding that clubs were missing players from the interior, Bielsa divided a map of Argentina into 70 sections and arranged trials in each, driving more than 5,000 miles in his Fiat 147 to watch them because he hates flying. After becoming Newell's first team manager in 1990, he won the Torneo Apertura that year, the Torneo Integración in 1990-91, and the Torneo Clausura in 1992. That year, he also took them to a Copa Libertadores final, losing to Sao Paulo on penalties. According to Wilson, Bielsa, seemingly exhausted by the strain of coaching the team he supported to play in the style for which he was an evangelist, resigned after this. The team's stadium is now named after him. He then spent roughly 4 seasons in Mexico, managing Atlas and then America, before returning to Argentina and Vélez Sársfield, who he led to a Clausura win in '98. Then leaving that summer, Bielsa initially took over at Espanyol, where Pochettino was a player, but only managed 6 games before resigning to take over as manager of Argentina's national side. In a 40-game, almost 7-year span, he was hugely unlucky, particularly at the 2002 World Cup, before guiding a team featuring Carlos Tevez, Javier Mascherano and Roberto Ayala to the Olympic gold medal in 2004, defeating Paraguay 1-0 in the final in Athens with a Tevez goal. A 2-year hiatus followed before Bielsa took over as the national team manager for Chile. Working with players like Alexis Sanchez, Gary Medel and Arturo Vidal, Bielsa built a vibrant attacking Chilean team that got to the second round of the World Cup in 2010, before losing 3-0 to Brazil. He became hugely popular in Chile for this, and for installing an exciting, complex style of play and developing players such as Sanchez. Bielsa resigned in February 2011, citing differences with Jorge Segovia, the president of the Chilean Football Board, although Segovia had in fact had his election annulled before Bielsa quit. Despite his successes in Argentina, and with the Argentina and Chile national sides, it wasn't until his athletic club tenure when many in Europe outside of professional football began to take notice of Bielsa. The 2011-12 season saw Athletic reach the Europa League final, only to lose to Atletico Madrid 3-0, while they also lost the Copa del Rey final to Barcelona. The following season, however, saw the sale of Javi Martinez to Bayern and a massive fall-off in form, and after a 12th place finish, Bielsa's contract was not renewed. In 2014, he joined Marseille, finishing the first half of the 2014-15 season top, but falling away to finish 4th. He then only lasted 1 game the following season, before resigning. His reputation as unpredictable and difficult was not helped by his reigns at Lazio and Lille, which lasted only 2 days and 13 games respectively. However, he is now achieving great success at Leeds, having been appointed in June 2018. He had to pass the Exceptional Talent Board due to issues with attaining a work permit, but with the support of Pochettino, who wrote on his behalf, Bielsa sailed through the process. His time at Leeds has been marked by huge strides in the team's football, but the club has also had to deal with allegations that Bielsa arranged for a member of his staff to spy on Derby County before a game. He responded by accepting that this was his standard practice and went on to hold a press conference where he gave an extremely detailed assessment of Derby's tactics. Bielsa's approach to football has been influential tactically, something we'll address in another video, but also practically. He was one of the first managers to engage heavily in opposition analysis. At Vélez Sársfield, he reportedly requested a computer that would allow him to take screen grabs of footage. This was in 1997, long before anyone else was doing it. This focus on opposition analysis has its roots in Bielsa's own style. You can't press effectively unless you can anticipate the opposition's approach, but it's also an element of Bielsa's obsessive academic approach to football. He took 51 tapes of analysis with him to his Vélez interview. He presented a colour-coded assessment of all athletic clubs' previous season's matches when he arrived in Bilbao, and his breakdown of the English Championship, including listing every formation and every approach used by every team during the course of the preceding campaign, won him the job at Leeds United and confirmed his nature to an eager English press. Sid Lowe described this level of detail beautifully in a Guardian piece from 2012. He watches thousands of games, building a football taxonomy like some kind of botanist. As Fernando Gamboa, the former Newell's defender who played under Bielsa, said, "Do you know the problem, Professor? You live football 24 hours per day, and the rest of us have another life outside of the game." Indeed, Bielsa's reputation for obsessive documentation of the game is built on stories such as when he roped his father-in-law into making notes while he watched matches on a family holiday, or when he said he would spend Christmas Day doing 2 hours of exercise and watching 14 hours of football. Bielsa's methodical approach to training sees him run sessions of matchday level intensity 2 days before fixtures, with the reserves instructed to play like the upcoming opposition. Tactical notes are intensive, while the day before the game, Bielsa runs through huge numbers of match-specific situations so that players are thoroughly drilled in how to respond to various attacking and defensive situations. He's a responsive and inclusive coach too, though. Former players have explained that while Bielsa has a tactical philosophy that he adheres to, he regularly speaks with players and consults them on how the side are playing. Bielsa's personality is intense, as his approach to his work suggests. After a 6-0 defeat while coaching Newell's, he explained that, "I turned off the light, closed the curtains, and I realised the true meaning of an expression we sometimes use lightly. I want to die. I burst into tears." He's well known for his idiosyncratic habits too, such as pacing 13 steps from one side of his technical area to the other, or sitting on an icebox on his haunches to watch games. When he joined Leeds, Bielsa made waves by getting the squad to spend 3 hours picking up litter. But that's not a reflection of his oddity. Bielsa wanted his players to appreciate the work fans must do to afford tickets. He's uncompromising, never giving interviews one-on-one, but orchestrating at times enormously long press conferences translated by his French interpreter, named Salim Lamrani. His nickname, El Loco, can be viewed affectionately or pejoratively, a condescending excuse for a visionary who holds his own path, or a wry recognition of his differences. At heart, though, Bielsa is a passionate and decent man. Sid Lowe recounted in The Guardian a story from Bielsa's tenure at Athletic. Bielsa was stopped by a group of kids who asked him to sign their sticker album. He said no, he had a better idea. He took the album off them and told them to meet him the following day, same place, same time. When he turned up 24 hours later, the entire team had signed the album. And he is, first and foremost, a football obsessive, a visionary coach, a man whose influence reverberates throughout world football. Regardless of what he achieves with Leeds United, or afterwards, Marcelo Bielsa's legacy will be measured in more than just titles won.